I'm free, y'all. Said I'm free, y'all. Said I'm free, y'all. Yes, I am. Said I'm free, y'all. Said I'm free, y'all. Said I'm free, y'all. Ooh. Yes, I am.
Well, good morning, good morning, good morning. And this is the day the Lord has made. And we're here to rejoice and be glad in it. Listen, I'm so happy that you've tuned in today to the Hope TV. I'm Ivory Smith, and I'm excited that you've tuned in to another segment of Morning Dew. Listen, we only have 10 more days left in 2021, and we're here. And we're here. We've gone through so many things in the last 20, almost 22 months, so many ups and downs and peaks and valleys, but through it all, we're here. And I just salute you all for your resiliency and for your perseverance. Everybody should be saluted for you made it through this season. This has not been an easy season, but you made it through. And we can count it all joy, even when we fall into diverse testings, knowing this, the trying of our faith is working patience. So good morning to you. So happy to have you with us. And on this Tuesday morning, won't you drop us a line and let us know the city and the state and the country from whence you're viewing. We take your viewership very, very seriously here, and I want you to know that we just appreciate your support. We started Hope TV back in March of 2020. As a matter of fact, our first show was on March 19th, 2020, and here we are, December 21st, 2021. Hope TV is still going strong. It's still a thing, as they say colloquially. So I'm excited that you're here. So if you're here, won't you drop me a line and let me know the city, state, and country from which you're viewing. I'd love to hear from you. Right while you're watching, drop me a line. I want to hear from you. If you're watching today, if you're watching through Apple TV or Roku or Twitch, which is one of our fastest growing platforms, Twitch, Amazon Fire TV. If you're watching through YouTube, Facebook, good morning to you. Kelly Cordova, good morning to you from Colorado. Good morning to you. She's watching from Facebook. Good morning. Glad to have you here with us. If you're watching from YouTube, which is growing as well, if you're watching through Twitter, Instagram, if you're watching through the Edward Smith website or through the House of Hope Atlanta website, good morning to you, Vicki. Glad to have you with us. If you're watching through the Hope TV website, however you're viewing, thank you so very much for your viewership. I appreciate you being a part today. It means the world to me that you are here. We got a lot of Christmas programming this week that I'm excited about, and I look forward to you hearing from me. Good morning to you, Tom, from Victorville, California. Glad to have you with us this morning. Hope all is well with you out in California. So we got California and Colorado on today watching, and we're excited that you're here with us, and I appreciate you so very much for being a part. Hope everybody's in the Christmas season and enjoying this Christmas time, and that you're enjoying those who are going to be taking time off the next couple of days. Hope that you get an opportunity to relax and just have a moment of downtime with you and your family and friends. And those who are traveling, let me just really hope that wish you safe travels, and I pray that you are safe as you're traveling, whether you're traveling by car or plane. Please be safe. And I want to give you a word of hope. I'm always the hopeful guy and the guy of faith, but let me also just encourage you. Please be careful out there. It seems that some people think that we've made it through the pandemic already. And I know those of you who know me know I'm just really sick and disgusted with this pandemic. I'm so over it. I really am. I'm just tired of it. But although I'm over it, it does not mean it's over us. It does not mean that it's sick of us yet. So we just have to be resilient and be very, very wise, be very, very careful. Even though this pandemic has been politicized, and of course politics sometimes mess everything up. Don't let the politicization of this pandemic make you be less resilient in terms of your wisdom. Here in the city of Atlanta, this Omicron variant is spreading like wildfire. It's like an inferno. So please be very careful out there. As our young people are coming home from school, good morning to you, Sean. As our young people are coming home from school and come home from college, and we're going to be visiting each other over the holidays, just be careful. Just be careful. Those of you who have older relatives, please make sure you go get some tests before you go around with your elderly family members, grandparents. Please be careful. I want to encourage you to just go get some home tests if need be, and don't be reckless. I know we live by faith, and I believe in living by faith too. People know me, and I'm a guy of hope, and I'm an eternal optimist, and I'm a guy of faith. So I just want y'all to make sure that we use faith and wisdom. That's all I'm saying. Use faith and wisdom, and faith and wisdom are not mutually exclusive. You can have faith and use wisdom at the same time. They are not at odds with each other. Using wisdom is not a negation of faith, And so if it's raining torrentially outside, and you're on the interstate, and it's raining cats and dogs, and you can be a person of faith, but if somebody tells you to slow down and don't drive 90 miles per hour, slowing down when you're driving in rain does not mean you don't have faith that you're going to make to your destination. You got faith that you're going to make to your destination, but prudence and wisdom says, let me slow down, let me observe the traffic, let me be careful, watch for puddles of water, so I won't hydroplane. So driving carefully is not a negation of faith. As a matter of fact, driving carefully supports faith, because the Bible tells us that faith without works is dead. So I speak this entire pandemic that you're going to be safe. I have faith that you're going to be well, that you're going to have a great and enjoyable time. But I also speak that you're going to use wisdom. We're all going to use wisdom, and that we're careful. So if we run out older relatives, you can go to the Walgreens or local drugstores. You don't have time to get a PCR test, PRC test, whatever it's called. They even sell them over the counter now. Just do something to make sure that you're taking the necessary precautions, particularly if you're around elderly people, those who immunocompromised. So just be wise and do that today. Pray for the city of Atlanta. Our new mayor-elect just yesterday evening announced that he had contracted COVID, and he was in our church on Sunday. And so was with us on Sunday, ran an amazing campaign, and was a super guy, and just the campaign season. And so he was with us Sunday. So I'm going in a moment to get tested. I feel great. I don't have any problems, but I just want you just to take precautions, because you just never know. And we've had a few people on our team to break out with COVID as well. So you just got to these are the times in which we live. And so I just want to encourage people to not live by fear, but live by wisdom. Live by wisdom. Live by wisdom. If you're over 55, good morning to you, Sean and Colleen. Just be wise, and because they're expecting during this holiday season that for it to be compounded, and that we have exponential spread of this Omicron variant, which is supposedly 70 times more contagious than the Delta variant. So I just want to throw it out there. I'm not wanting to mess your morning up with it, but just a word of wisdom as we get started. Please enjoy the holidays. You're going to go to the malls, and whatever you're going to do, just be careful. Keep your hands washed, away from your mouth. Keep your mouth and nose covered with that mask, and make sure you keep your hands sanitized, please, with at least 99% alcohol in your hand sanitizer. Keep those hands washed, away from your mouth. Practice social distancing. Just have a good time, but just be wise, and nothing wrong with wisdom. Okay. So welcome this morning. Glad you're here. So excited. Matter of fact, y'all pray that my test be negative, which I feel it will be. Speaking that by faith, but I feel great. But so thank y'all for being a part. Just want to share it with you, not to mess your morning up, but just felt led to say that. Good morning, Rochelle. Blessings to you, Rochelle Weathers. Thank you so much. Glad to have you. So let's enjoy it, but we're not over this pandemic yet. We're not over it. I know we're all sick of it. My goodness, I know I'm sick of it. But let's still be resilient, and let's get through this. And we're also still in flu season, and it's winter. So let's just get through it, all right? I think let's get through this, family. Let's get through it. We'll make it through. We got to be wise. Let's get through it. All right. If you're watching through a platform, as a matter of fact, is today the first day of winter? I think today is the first day of winter. Day tomorrow. So we're in the winter season now. So let's be wise, all right? Let me thank everybody for watching. And if you're watching through a platform that will allow you to subscribe, like, comment, or share, please do so now. If you're watching through a platform that will allow you to subscribe, every time you hit that subscribe button, it helps us to. Thanks so much, Rochelle. I appreciate that. That means a lot. I appreciate that. Every time you subscribe, that helps us to leverage the platform. I got an announcement I want to make today to you about why the subscribers base means so much. We were able this year to do a partnership with my alma mater, Morehouse College, historic Morehouse College, all male college here. And yeah, first day when I thought so, and we're in the winter season, so let's be careful. But this year we're going to be airing the Morehouse College Spelman Glee Club Christmas concert this week right here on the Hope TV. I was a Glee Club member my first year in college when I went to college on a music scholarship. And yeah, be careful, yeah. And I had the opportunity to play football in college. So I had the opportunity to play football. I was thinking about going to the Air Force, and I also had a music scholarship. So I went to Morehouse in the Glee Club for the first year. And one of the highlights of the annual year is when Morehouse and all male school, Spelman and all girls school, right across the street, come together in our music departments and have the Glee Club, which is a beautiful event. And this week is going to be airing on Hope TV. So for the Christmas season, I think you're going to enjoy that. Again, why did that happen? It happened because we got some subscribers and people want to be a part of the Hope TV. That's what I mean by subscribing. So subscribe. That's right, John Christina. Got to be careful during the season. So please subscribe. You also can hit the like button. The like buttons help us with our algorithms and our engagements. So please hit the like button. Make your comments. They're most helpful with the engagements and during live forums like this. Very helpful. Help me to clarify stuff. And sometimes you help me to teach the class. So please click, make your comments. And then last but not least, that share button is preeminently important. Every time you hit that share button, you help us to get exponential reach, exponential capacity. So please hit that share button. So subscribe, like, comment, and share. And I'll certainly be thankful and appreciative to you for that reality. One last thing I want to hit on. My Christmas album is out. So as you guys are shopping or around the house, you got family, friends over. Thank you. Want to give a shout out? Oh, oh, bless you, Kelly. No, I'm not really, not really. My Christmas album is out. It's called Let Praises Ring, and it's a Christmas EP. I want y'all to get it. And sometime this week, when you're listening to your Christmas music, won't you download my CD? Download it and get some Christmas cheer in your house. You can go to Apple Music or all the digital platforms and make sure that you listen to it. I got a song I wrote on there called Christmas is About God's Son. I did 2 covers, Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas. I did another one, Chestnuts Roasting on Open Fire, the Christmas song. And about souls, it's got some scriptures on there, got a Christmas prayer. So y'all make sure y'all get it, help you get into the Christmas season. Go ahead and get it. Let praises ring. All right, now let's get ready to go right into our morning do devotional for today. Not gonna hold you long. It's Christmas week, and I'm not gonna worry you very long today. But I want to give you a very powerful word that's from the book of Galatians. We're rounding the corner, and hopefully we'll be in chapter 5 at the top of the new year. Good morning to you, Maddie. Good morning to you. Galatians chapter 4 is where I'll be reading from today, our scripture today, Galatians 4. Can we turn to that right quick? Listen to what Paul says. Paul says, those heretical teachers go to great lengths to flatter you. They go to great lengths to flatter you. They go to great lengths to flatter you. He says, but their motives are rotten. Their motives are rotten. Their motives are rotten. Their motives are rotten. They want to shut you out of the free world of God's grace. so that you will always depend on them for approval and direction, making them feel important. It's a good thing to be ardent and doing good, but not just when I'm in your presence. And can't you continue the same concern for both my person and my message when I'm away from you that you had when I was with you? And the next scripture he says this, and then he says this: do you know how I feel right now, and will feel until Christ's life becomes more visible in your lives? Do you know how I feel right now, and will feel until Christ's life becomes more visible in your lives? Until Christ's life becomes more visible in your lives. This is the devotional today is going to be called "Steps to Making Christ's Life Visible." Good morning to you, Tina. Steps to making Christ's life visible. That's the message for today. That's the devotional. How do we make Christ's life visible? You know, it's amazing that we talk about the visible world versus the invisible world. We talk about the visible God and the invisible God. You know, when you think about God in creation, that's the invisible God. But the invisible God is doing visible things in terms of creating, you know, and letting there be light that's visible. The trees and the animal kingdom, that's visible. Making humanity, that's visible. So the invisible God manifests things that are visible that we can see with the natural eye. And so that's a great point, that the invisible God does things that are visible. Even Christ coming to earth is, good morning to you, Tasha, that is the invisible God becoming visible. The writer of Hebrews says that Christ is the express image of God. That means visible. John 1:14 says that Christ is the Word made flesh. The Word put clothes on. That's visible. And so there is this dichotomy and duality between things that are invisible versus the things that are visible. And so a lot of things, you know, we can talk about what are the invisible things in our lives, what are the visible things in our lives. Christmas is about God coming to earth, becoming visible for us. He's Emmanuel, God with us. That's what Christmas is about. The invisible becoming visible. The Word putting flesh on and dwelling amongst us. And so that's what Christmas is about. So Paul makes an interesting claim here. He says, my aim is for Christ's life to be visible in you. Speaking to the Galatian people, he says, my whole expectation is he said, do you know how I feel right now? And will feel until Christ's life becomes visible in your life. He says, like a mother in pain of childbirth. He says, all I want is for Christ's life to be visible in your life. He says, the statement here, he really implies, was kind of implicit here, that they, yeah, that's it, Judith. The implication here is that the law and the code, I preached about this Sunday in our in-person service. The Galatian people had reverted back to those codes and creeds and customs and ceremonies and circumcision and culinary restriction and clothing restraints. And so they had gone back, they had really regressed back to the days of the Old Testament. And where you saw more of those things than you did Christ. You saw, you know, what they didn't eat, what they didn't wear. You saw circumcision happening for the Jewish boys who on the 8th day of their birth. So you saw all those things, and you saw all the customs and the codes. Good morning, Aisha McCray. You saw all that stuff, but one thing you didn't see Christ. He says, you know, and Paul says, like a mother is in pain when she's giving birth. He said that's how I feel right now. I'm trying to give birth. What he said, that I want to give birth to the reality of people seeing Jesus in you guys. He says, but I can't. People really can't see Jesus because all they see is the codes and the customs and the rules. This is an ancient passage, it is eerily relevant today because even in some faith communities, we focus on this whole list of the do's and don'ts. You can't wear pants if you're a lady. Lady can't wear makeup. You know, um, you know, you can't listen to music that doesn't have the word Jesus in it. You know, uh, you can't watch football on Sundays. You can't go to a New Edition concert. A lady can't wear a bathing suit. I mean, you can't. You can't eat pork, can't eat beef. Can't drink a glass of wine. You know, can't listen to Frankie and Beverly in your car. Can't do this with your hair. Can't. So even today, there is such a list of rules, of do's and don'ts, and sometimes we're not careful. We can become so legalistic. And some of the meanest people you ever want to meet are people who come in the name of faith, uh, but they want to push these rules and do's and don'ts. They're the music police. You can't dance. You can't play cards. I mean, I was in my 30s before I held a pack of cards, a deck of cards. Because my mother didn't let me play cards. Um, Marbles, you know. My mother just wouldn't just didn't like it. Didn't like us to play pool, spades, tonk. I never knew how to play them because my mom was such a stickler that you shouldn't play cards. Playing cards was this is how she was brought up and how she raised me. And so, I tried to do what my mama told me to do, and I didn't understand it. So I was in my 30s before I played cards for the first time. And so, as if playing cards was gonna send me to hell, and that's how a lot of people were raised. Um, you can't do this. You gotta go to church. And so these rules um, that were placed on so many people um, is what was happening in the church of Galatia. Paul was trying to get them to see that our sufficiency is in Jesus, and that since grace has come into the world, that Jesus is Lord of the Sabbath, and he came to be the fulfillment of the Old Testament law. But those Judaizers were trying to get people back into that. So he says, man, listen, I need y'all to start making Christ's life visible versus all these other things visible. Okay, we see you don't eat lobster because remember, they had culinary restrictions. Going back to Leviticus, where you couldn't eat shellfish, you couldn't eat lobster or shrimp or crab or seafood to this very day. They believe that those are scavengers, and so you don't eat, So to this day, there are some faith communities that believe if you eat some lobster, that you're disobeying God, or if you eat a catfish, that you are out of connect, or if you eat a pork chop or bacon that's pork, then that at that moment you're out of connection with God. To this very day, and so these are things that were going on way back in the book of Galatians and back in the book of Leviticus, and so Paul is trying to say now it's not what goes in a person that defiles them; it's what comes out of them. So whatever you do, do it in moderation. So he's saying to the Galatian people is I see everything else in you, but I don't see Christ as being visible enough. I don't see Christ as being preeminent enough because of the customs, the codes, your cultural overtones and cultural connections, circumcision, the creeds, the culinary restrictions, all those things. Can't wear fabric of that has two or more fabrics. You can't wear anything, a garment with two or more fabric. You can't wear something with two or more fabrics. So if it's wool or linen, so something that's wool blend, or cashmere and silk, anything that has two garments, two fabrics can't wear it. These were literal codes and laws that they'll had to abide by, and to break one of those meant that you were out of connection with God. And so Paul's like, listen, man, all of this stuff is making Christ's death in vain. He says, so what I want to do here, I want y'all to really, 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 really make Christ's life more visible. And I think what a good word at Christmas time. You know, even as we're going out to buy our presents and all the fellowship and the tinsel and lights and all that stuff, that's wonderful. But what good is all that and we don't see Jesus? You know, how will we exemplify? How will we make Jesus visible in this Christmas season? Can people see Jesus? Not our stuff, not our beautiful decorations, but what will we do the next couple of weeks during this holiday season to make Christ visible? I think that's a very powerful message. And what will we do in 2022 that makes Christ visible? So that's what I'm talking about today for a few moments. Steps to making Christ visible. How do we make Christ's life visible? The first thing I think he says that we should do is recognize teaching that's false. That's the first thing that's very, very important. Recognize teaching that's false. Recognize teaching that's false. That's the first step to making Christ's life visible. You got to recognize teaching that's false. That's what Paul says really in these verses. If you go back to Galatians 4 and how he opens these verses, listen what he says about teaching that's false. And I hate to, I'm just going to give you what he said in verse 17. He says, listen to the word. He said, those heretical teachers. Heretical. Now I want you to write that word down, heresy. Heresy is the word, it is spelled Heresy. 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 Now, heresy is, there's a difference between teaching being incorrect and being in, okay, heresy is one thing, being in error is another thing. Heresy is one thing, error is another thing. Now that's it. Now, heresy is error, but error is not all the time heresy. Let me give you something that I think would be heretical. If I said Jesus Christ didn't die for your sins, that's heresy. If I said Jesus was born in Jerusalem, that's error. Did you hear that? So heresy and error are not always synonymous. If I said there is no God, that's heresy. If I said Moses saw God, Moses saw God's face, that's error. And so sometimes one is error and the other is false. Heresy, if for Paul was, if a Judaizer said Jesus Christ, death is not enough for salvation, that would be heresy. If somebody said that Jesus died on Thursday, because there's some debate about Jesus in the bed of 3 days and 3 nights. So if somebody said Jesus died on Wednesday, that's not necessarily heresy, that's error. Heresy is something that goes against doctrine. Error is something that may be a miscalculation or misspoke or inaccuracy in terms of data. Um, what Paul was saying to the Galatian people, that you guys are not in error. You guys are heretical. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. And so when he says to them, when you try to add something to salvation, or when you say that Jesus Christ's death is not enough, that's heresy. And so he doesn't say you guys are in error. He just says that you're incorrect. He says you're false. Um, a lot of times we mistake heresy for error. Um, if I preached a sermon and I said that God created Nipsey Hussle, or that I'm a believer, but I like Michael Jackson music. Somebody would say he's here. He's here. That's not heretical. You might think I'm in error, and again, and that's subjective. Who determines what's in error now? Unless So you got a lot of people who believe that because I live like Michael Jackson off the wall, or beat it, or rock with you. Because I like Michael Jackson, I'm a preacher. I'm a heretical teacher. Because I would say Michael Jackson, I like Michael Jackson. That's not heresy. You might think I'm in error. That's not heresy. But to say that Jesus Christ's death is not enough, to say that you need Christ's death and clothes and circumcision, that's heresy. And so I want to make sure I clarify that. So he said that those teachings were heretical because even after Christ had died, they still were focusing. The last thing they were focusing on was Christ coming to the world to die for the sins. It was about everything else except that. And I think that's one of the things we have to look at ourselves. Or one of the ways we have to do is recognize what's false. What's really heretical? Are we really representing the tenets of what Jesus represented? Are we giving during this season? Are we prioritizing love? Do we want to see the world saved? Are we trying to bring people to the Lord Jesus Christ? Those are ways. Are we trying to make it about ourselves? Those are the ways. I was reading something a couple weeks ago about what happened with Jim Jones in Guyana. I don't know if you guys ever heard that story, read that story about 1978. Almost 1,000 people died. They followed him to South America and they drank. And he started off looking out for people, but got on drugs. And Jim Jones turned into a cult. And those people died. He mixed Bible with all kind of. He was out of his mind. And it's one of the saddest tragedies in American history. Jim Jones in Jonestown, Guyana. I mean, one of the congressmen got killed. It was just a horrible, horrible story. But how it was so easy to mix the Bible in with this other stuff, and it was about everything else. It was more about Jim Jones than it was about God. He had made himself God, and that's heresy. They had a church here in Atlanta called the Perfect Church. I don't know if they still have the church, but many years ago, when I moved to Atlanta, this is in the late '80s. Even before that, they believed that the pastor was going to be resurrected when he died. He was going to get up from the grave in 3 days. And back then, when I came to college, they had restaurants called the Beautiful restaurants. The Beautiful. I don't know if they still got the Beautiful now, but you want to get some good food, you go to the Beautiful. College students would go there. You go late. They had one over and they had one downtown on Auburn Avenue, one over called the Beautiful. Man, some good food. And but the Beautiful started out of the Perfect Church, and they believed everybody in the church was perfect. And they believe if the preacher died, when the preacher died, he was going to get up on the third day morning. And those people went around that church for years. It's not too far from Turner Field, those who know Atlanta, off McDaniel, somewhere over in that area. But people went to that church for years, every Sunday, thinking that he was going to get up. They thought he was going to get up from the grave when the preacher died. The church called the Perfect Church. And that's heresy. Because what they basically were saying, if you're going to give him 3 days, they basically was calling him Jesus. That's heresy. And I hate to be the pastor that comes out here talking about what other people believe. I hate being that guy. I just use that example because I think it's a very relevant example. Because I hate when preachers get up and talk about to say things that are negative. So what I'm saying is not negative. Yeah, he was in California. He moved there from the Midwest actually, but Jim Jones was. But my point is that's heresy. When we make things about ourselves and about our doctrine and our leadership and it's not Christ centered, that's what he said. So what I need you to do, I need you to recognize teaching that's false. If something is heretical, I need you to recognize that and make sure you don't allow that to be your reality. And so that's the first thing he says: recognize teaching that's false. All right. Then he says something else that's powerful. So now that you recognize teaching that's false, the second thing, yes, the second thing he says that I think is very powerful is once you recognize teaching is false, remember to not be tricked by flattery. Remember to not be tricked by flattery. Remember to not be tricked by flattery. Listen what he says. Do not be tricked by flattery. Put that scripture back in verse 17. I'm almost finished. I love this verse. I'm going straight through it. That's so true. You got it. Look what he says. Those heretical teachers go to great lengths to flatter you, but their motives are rotten. Lord have mercy. He says what y'all have gotten to. That's right, Josh. You find a perpetrator, don't join it because you're gonna mess it up. Nobody's perfect. The church wasn't perfect. You're exactly right. He says to them, the problem y'all have is y'all have let these people flatter you. Because y'all are dressed, they're telling you how wonderful and fabulous you are. How you look so good, how you're not eating the meats, how you're dressing accordingly. So you're going through these great lengths to get you flattered, to make you feel good about yourself, but their motives are rotten. They want to shut you out of the free will of God's grace, so that you always depend on them for approval and direction, making them feel important. So the problem is they want you to keep being reliant upon them. You need their validation. He said the problem is you go and listen to stuff that flatters you, that tells you how wonderful and great you are, that you're never challenged. So you listen to stuff Paul later calls in one verse itching ears. She says time is going to come when people want to endure sound doctrine. So you want to go to be flattered. You want to be told these wonderful and glorious things. And it happens a lot even in our preachment today. If we're not careful, I see this. We sometimes the things that we respond to, the things that we get a good response out of, too much, and we got to find more balance. I don't know how we do this, but I think a lot of times the things that we respond to a lot in ministry and church are the things about us. And how do we balance faith with being blessed and walking in faith and being delivered? How do we balance the faithful proclamation and expectation of those things versus having the same jubilation when it's not about us getting anything? Well, how do we balance just I love Jesus? How do we balance God, you're good? How do we balance when praises go up? How do we balance praises going up without the expectation of blessings coming down? How do we balance preaching that focuses on the centrality of the cross and what Jesus did for us on the cross through salvation versus the expectation of miracles and breakthrough and deliverance and favor? I think sometimes we're not careful. A lot of what we get excited about the things that benefit us, and where even to the perspective that the things that God does for us is more important than the things that we do for God. Flattery. Could we be excited about a sermon that has nothing to do with God, with what God is doing for us? Can't we shout and praise and be just demonstrative We're just talking about God. How we balance. That's why stuff like evangelism doesn't excite people, because it's talking about other people being saved. Can we get excited about other people being saved? Or does my excitement only come when I got money, when I got a car and cash and a blessing in 3 days? So Paul is saying you can't be tricked by flattery. Y'all Galatian people, y'all are getting excited about everything else except Jesus. And I see it happening more and more, sometimes even unintentionally. Sometimes in our preaching and our singing, enlarge my territory, bless me indeed. And I believe that. And nothing is wrong with that. I'm gonna live on top of the world. You know, um, you know, it's my season of grace and favor. It's my season to reap what I've sown. And I believe that. By no way am I begrudging or demeaning any of those realities. Because I think we should sing faith and should sing expectation. Um, I'll never be defeated. you know. But at least that had does God is exalted. Satan, you're a liar, devil is, Satan, you're a liar. Satan, the devil's a liar. God is exalted. I know be defeated. So at least that does have God in it. But I'm just trying to give you more and more that we're hearing the stuff that's happening now. A lot of our preaching and a lot of our singing, whenever I hear Bishop, and people know how much I love Bishop Jakes, whenever he said, get ready, man, it stirs the whole congregation. You know what I mean? And I think we should get ready. Nothing's wrong with that. That's not the point. My point is that too often we only get excited about get ready for us. You know what I mean? So how do we balance the expectation of faith for ourselves and overflow? And, you know, uh, this is my harvest time. This is my season. You know, rain on us. How do we get excited about those things, but be more excited about, when you preach sermons on salvation and redemption and the cross, sometimes you don't get the same demonstrative reaction from people. And I'm not saying we should do this for reaction. What I am saying is when we don't feel the same level of jubilation, it could be because we've not made Christ as visible enough. It could be because Christ, we've unintentionally not made him central. Same thing with Christmas. When we make Christmas more about the stuff we get than what's really visible. And so a lot of times we make Christmas for the purpose of flattering ourselves. I got my new house. I'm gonna do this for Christmas for myself. I bought for the kids. Or I got my new ring. Or I'm gonna go on vacation. I'm doing this for Christmas. And it's like, okay, well, where's Jesus? Where's the Lord in all this? Have we been more about flattering ourselves or being flattered through preaching and through our holidays and not making Christ the centrality of the cross and centrality of the gospel? And that's really what's happening in Galatia. And it's happening even now. We have to be careful. Exactly right, Judy. We have to be careful. And I want us to just think about that in our own minds and maybe in our own spirits. Do I get more excited when the preacher preaches about favors coming? Yeah. Do I get excited? Do I get more excited when stuff's gonna turn around for me? Turn around for me. And don't get me wrong. I believe that we should sing songs that deal with expectation and faith. But I think we have to watch ourselves for the imbalance. Because if something, on a hill far away stood an old rugged cross, the emblem of suffering and shame. So I'll cherish the cross with the dearest and best, for a world of lost sinners was slain. So I'll cherish the old rugged cross till my trophies at last I lay down. I will cling to the old rugged cross and exchange it someday for a crown. Can I get excited just about the cross? At the cross. Is my faith about me being flattered, me getting the sweetness, but the meat of the gospel? I think that's the piece that Paul is saying. We have to watch ourselves because at that moment we may have made, We may have made the mistake of uh, of of, of making Christ invisible, and Christ needs to be more visible. So recognize teaching that's false. Remember not to be tricked by flattery. Resolve to temper frustration. Pastor, I want y'all to resolve to temper frustration. And if you're talking about his own frustration, which is almost a godly kind of frustration, and I'm finished with this. Look what he says. This is a sobering kind of passage. Make you look at yourself. You know, Lord, am I excited? Do I get happy when I just? That's what I like. That's what I like about the old church. The old church back in the old day. If you really wanted people to get excited, when that preacher would close that message out and say it wasn't Friday, they took him to a hill called Calvary. My grandfather and those of that ilk, every sermon they went to the cross. And folk got happy and they shouted. I don't care what they were preaching. They can be preaching on Obadiah, but they won't go to the cross. They would tell you, you ain't preached till you go to the cross. It was the moment of celebration for the faith. And they didn't preach a lot about favor and increase, but they gonna go to the cross every week. They felt if you didn't preach, if you didn't go to the cross. And I'm thinking now there was some the more I think about it, the more I realize there was some truth in that. Yeah, the cross has to be not myself, not me what I'm getting, but the cross. They close every message with taking the cross. You got to kill him. You got to get him on Sunday morning. they close. They wanted Christ to be visible, and I think now a lot of our preachment is about us. I hear you, Judith. It's about us. Go to the cross. It's about us now. But look what he says in this last verse. I'm gonna let y'all go about frustration. He says, those heretical teachers go to great lengths to flatter you, but their motives are rotten. It's all about them. Y'all want to be flattered, it's about you. Their motives are all about them. They want to shut you out of the free word of God's grace. They talk about everything except God's grace. So that you'll always depend on them for approval and direction, making them feel important. Making them feel important. It's a good thing to be ardent. He says, listen, I want y'all to do good. Not just when I'm in your presence. Can't you continue the same concern for my person and my message when I'm away with you? When I am away from you, that you was when I had with you. He says, when I'm with y'all, y'all love me, y'all listen, y'all do good. You keep it about Jesus. The moment I leave y'all, y'all make it about everything else. He said, keep the same concern for me and my message. Even if I'm not with you. Y'all been flat about this other stuff that has nothing to do with the gospel. It's about you. It's about them. You make the whole faith about what you get, you being flattered, and they want to feel important. Next scripture, I'm almost finished. He says, do you know how I feel right now? And we'll feel into Christ's life. He says, do you know how I feel right now? And we'll feel until Christ's life becomes more visible in your life. That's it, Cat. You're right. So he said, y'all know how I feel. He said, I'm seeing everything else, but I'm not seeing Christ's life. He said, what I'm seeing is y'all want benefits. Y'all want the acclaim, but not Jesus. Do you know how I feel right now? And feel until Christ's life becomes visible. See, I'm not seeing Christ. I'm seeing the stuff y'all want and the favor. I'm seeing the money and the cars and the cash and the titles and the promotion and the increase and breakthrough. That's all y'all talk about. Breakthrough and favor and deliverance and promotion. And he's going to work it out. And it's coming to pass. Your blessing is here. Right? He's turning around. Victory's coming. He's going to bring you through it. Everything is about that. But your faith is more about that than his life becoming visible in your life. So this is how I feel. He said, I'm like a mother in the midst of in the pain of childbirth. He said, that's how I feel. I'm trying to give birth, like a mother trying to give birth. Like a mother's trying to give birth to a child. That's how I feel trying to give birth to seeing Christ in your life. Oh, I keep wishing that I was with you. So I wish I was there. If I was there, maybe I wouldn't be doing this. Then I wouldn't be reduced to this blunt letter writing language out of sheer frustration. He said, I'm frustrated with y'all. I got a godly frustration. He said, the reason why I'm frustrated is because y'all have made faith about everything else except Christ. And I see the bling bling. I see the blessings. I see the favor. I see the prosperity. Talk about prosperity, y'all get happy. You know, uh, harvest time. Y'all go in. You know, get ready for your blessing. Get ready for your miracle. Y'all go in. But Christ's life being visible in your life, that's what's preeminent. Not your clothes, not the codes, not the customs, not the creeds. Is Christ's life visible in you? So if you don't have nothing under the tree but Christ's life and his love and his message, so don't make me frustrated and then repudiate the grace of God because you made about everything else. That's what I want to close with today and encourage you today. Don't frustrate God. Don't frustrate God's leaders. Many of us have frustrated God, and God is speaking to us out of frustration because all he's done for us, and we still make it about everything else. Don't get me wrong. I believe God wants to bless us. I know money, the Bible says, answers all things. But if that's the reason why you worship, if that's the reason why you're praying for that exclusively, if that's what excites you more than anything else, you're missing the point. You got to make his life more visible. Not his deeds, not his stuff, but his life. And so in this holiday season, my prayer for us today, make his life more visible. Maybe that's why you ought to serve. Do something for somebody else in this Christmas season. What can you do to bless somebody else? Teach your kids, your teenagers. They already got a list of what they want. They want iPhone. They want AirPods. They want tennis shoes. They want certain games. They make it all about themselves. Make them do something for Christ. Volunteer. Do something. Get the old toys. We're gonna donate them to a charity. Don't just make them think that this whole season is about them. Teach them that God so the word that he gave. What are your children giving? I mean, what do we always want to receive? What are we giving? Christ was not about receiving. He's about giving. Make that life visible. And what a great message for this time. Yes. Relationship with Jesus Christ. So for me, it's like, okay, God, what can I do this season? How can I give? How can I serve? How can I make your life visible through me in this season? Not just the benefits, not just what I can get from you, but how can I make your life visible? So when people see me, they see Christ. They see the action of Christ. Not asking for self. Not the asking based upon my own needs, my own carnality, and my desires. What can I do this Christmas that makes his life visible? That's a great word. Y'all ponder on that. And again, we're 4 days away from Christmas and we're 10 days away from a new year. I want y'all to be safe. Again, as you go out, be safe. You're going to visit your elderly relatives. Make sure you go get you a test, a rapid test or something. Don't just go over there, wear a mask. Please be safe. I know we live by faith, but we live by faith and wisdom. It's rough out here, guys. We're not over the pandemic. Please make sure you do that. Thank you, Sean. I'm going to get tested this morning for this COVID, and I feel good. So that's so true, Jackie. That's good. Not just about Christmas. It's every day. You're exactly right, Christmas. That's a great point. It's in our lives. I was just relating to Christmas, but you're right. It's all the time. It's all the time. I was just relating to the season, but it's all the time. In our everyday lives, how can we make Christ's life visible? Y'all pray for me. Pray for our married elect. I love you so much, and I hope that y'all are safe. And remember, you can use faith and wisdom at the same time. God's not giving us a spirit of fear, but of love, power, and a sound mind. And a sound mind says, if I'm going to see my grandmama, and she's 70, or my mama, and she's 80, I need to put a mask on. If I've been around a bunch of people with no mask, I only just go home because I'm living by faith. No, that's living by foolishness. There's a thin line between faith and foolishness. Love your family enough to go get a test. Go get a swab. You go to grocery store, Walgreens, somewhere like that. Buy a test. Don't go home until you get yourself, particularly if you're going to be around a bunch of people. Because they think that these numbers are going to rise. This Omicron variant is rising. So I'm not saying don't go home. I'm not saying stay stuck in the house. What I am saying, praying for you, Jack, what I am saying is during this season that we're wise. That's all. May God's blessings and choices Favor be upon each of you as you navigate this season, and may God meet you with peace. When Jesus was born, the angels gathered and formed a choir in midair, and they said, peace on earth and goodwill toward humanity. I speak glory to God in the highest and peace on earth to all men and women. May God's peace be yours. Wherever there's chaos or confusion, may peace and may goodwill, good intentions, may peace and goodness be with you in this season, in every area of your life. Walk in favor. And always remember this, if you'll be good to you. Till next time, peace.
Set I'm free, y'all. Set I'm free, y'all. Set I'm free, y'all. Yes, I am.